Antya-lila, Chapter 9, entitled The Deliverance of Gopinath Patanayaka. Gopinath Patanayaka is one of the sons of Bhavananda Rai, which means he is a brother of Ramananda Rai. And if I remember correctly, Bhavananda Rai had 5 sons, and they were all employed in the civil service, or in government service, the service of the king, whose name was Prataprudra. And Gopinath Patanayak was working in the treasury, collecting tax and putting it into the coffers. Some money went missing, and he offered to pay it back by selling some horses that he had. And the king's son, who was familiar with horse trading and value, offered him a measly price, an unfair price for the horses. And the king's son had a habit of craning his neck, like jerking his neck up to the sky. And so when he made an insulting, unfair offer for the horses, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, when he made an unfair offer for the horses, Gopinath Patanayak was ruffled, and he insulted him by saying, well, you should pay me more for these horses, because, they don't have this kind of tick where they jerk and look up to the sky, you see, so they're worth more than that. And of course, the king's son felt the insult. He knew what that meant, of course. And he ordered him to be put to death. So he's there on the platform, about to be hurled onto a field of swords, and like Vlad the Impaler, and they were going to put him on the swords, and the people were coming. Gopinath Patanayak's friends and acquaintances were coming to Mahaprabhu and begging him to intervene. And he says, pray to Lord Jagannath. Someone ends up going to the king, Prataprudra, and he says, well, I had no knowledge of this. I didn't order this. I haven't sanctioned this. And he spares Gopinath Patanayak, who is on the platform, being prepared to be pushed onto the swords. So he spares him. And Mahaprabhu was saying, because of all this tumult at Puri, Mahaprabhu was saying, I want to go to Alalanath for some peace and quiet. Alalanath is down the coast, south of Puri. And so now Kashi Mishra, who is the priest of the king and at whose place Mahaprabhu lives, is talking to Mahaprabhu. He quotes the verse Tat Tenu Kampam Susamikshamano, the famous verse, in relation to Gopinath Patanayak, trying to, in an attempt to explain his position to Mahaprabhu. So Gopinath Patanayak Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Gopinath Patanayak is involved in worldly affairs, and Kashi Mishra is telling Mahaprabhu, but this is simply his karma. Internally, Vidadan Namaste, he is offering all respect with Hridvag Vapubir, heart, speech, and body. So he's saying internally he is a devotee, even though his external situation may appear to be worldly. So he's putting in a good word for Gopinath Patanayak. So we'll continue from text 79. Yadiva tomara tare rakete hayamana ajiye rakila se karibe rakshana. Finally, Kashi Mishra told the Lord, if you want to give protection to Gopinath, then Lord Jagannath, who protected him today, will also protect him in the future. Etabali Kashi Mishra gelasva mandire Madhyane Prataparudra Ailatan Ragare. After saying this, Kashi Mishra left the abode of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and returned to his own temple. At noon, Prataparudra came to Kashi Mishra's home. Prataparudra eka achaye niyame yatta dina rahetenha Sri Purushottame. As long as King Prataparudra stayed in his capital, Purushottam, he performed one regular duty. Nitya Shikare Mishra Pada Samvahana Jagannatha Sevara Kare Biyana Shravana. He would come daily to the house of Kashi Mishra to massage his lotus feet. The king would also hear from him about how opulently Lord Jagannath was served. Raja Mishra Charana Yabe Chapete Lagila Tabe Mishra Tanre Kichu Bangiti Kahila. When the king began pressing his lotus feet, Kashi Mishra informed him about something through hints. Devashuna Ara Eka Aparupavat Mahaprabhu Ketra Chari Yabena Alalanat. My dear king, he said, please hear one uncommon item of news. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to leave Jagannath Puri and go to Alalanath. Shuni Raja Dukhi Haila Puchilena Karana Tabe Mishra Kahe Tanre Saba Vivarana. When the king heard that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Alalanath, he was very unhappy and inquired about the reason. Then Kashi Mishra informed him of all the details. Gopinata Patanayake Yabe Change Chadaila Tara Sevaka Saba Ashi Prabhure Kahila. When Gopinath Patanayak was lifted onto the Changa, he said, all his servants went to inform Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shuniya Chobita Haila Mahaprabhu Ramana Krodhe Gopinate Kaila Bahuta Bhartsana. Hearing about this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely sorry at heart, and in anger he chastised Gopinath Patanayak. Ajatendriya Hana Kare Raja Vishaya Nana Asat Pate Kare Raja Dravya Vyaya. Because he is mad after sense gratification, the Lord said, he acts as a government servant, but he spends the government's revenue for various sinful activities. Brahmasva Adika E Haya Rajadana Tahahari Boga Kare Mahapapijana. The revenue of the government is more sacred than the property of a Brahmana. One who misappropriates the government's money and uses it to enjoy sense gratification is most sinful. Rajara Vartana Kaya Arachuri Kare Raja Danya Hayase Shastrera Vichare. One who serves the government but misappropriates the government's revenue is liable to be punished by the king. That is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Nija Kode Magi Raja Nahi Kare Danda Raja Mahadharmika E Hayapapi Banda. The king wanted his revenue paid and did not want to enforce punishment. Therefore the king is certainly very religious, but Gopinath Patanayak is a great cheat. Rajakari Nadeya Amare Pukare E Mahadukha Ihan Ke Sahite Pare. He does not pay the revenue of the king, but he wants my help for release. This is a greatly sinful affair. I cannot tolerate it here. Lalanata yai tahan nishchinte rahimu, Vishayeda balamanda vartana sunimu. Peacefully I shall leave Jagannath Puri and go to Alalanath, where I should live peacefully and not hear about all these affairs of materialistic people. Eta shuni kahe raja panamane vyata, sabadravya chadon yadi prabhurahena eta. When King Prataprudra heard all these details, he felt great pain in his mind. I shall give up all that is due from Gopinath Patanayak, he said, if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stays here at Jagannath Puri. Previously, there was a similar despair from King Prataprudra when Mahaprabhu went first to Jagannath Puri. After taking sannyas, he went to Puri, stayed in Puri for a month, and then left on his pilgrimage of South India. And Prataprudra Maharaj questioned Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, why did you let him go? How is it that he came here, our great fortune for him to come here, but now he leaves? Why did you let him go? So he doesn't want, the king is concerned about the well-being or the happiness, the comfort of Mahaprabhu in Puri. And he is fearful of him. He is disturbed by any disturbance of Mahaprabhu, particularly if that involves Mahaprabhu leaving or saying that he wants to leave. It upsets the king. Ekakshana prabhura yadi paye darashana koti chintamani labha nahi tarasama. If even for a moment I could get an interview with Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I would not care for the profit of millions of chintamani stones. Konchara padartha e duilaksha kahana prana raja karon prabhu pare nirmanchana. I do not care about this small sum of 200,000 kahanas. Not to speak of this, I would indeed sacrifice everything at the lotus feet of the Lord, including my life and kingdom. So he was Prataprudra was a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, his entire kingdom, which was known as, Udaya. Orissa. Orissa is the current pronunciation. But Odia is the more accurate pronunciation. Odia. And it comes from the word Udia. The root U. U means like to rise. We have the song Udilo Aruna, as the sun's rising. And dawn means the dawn. There's a man I met round at the corner shop. I bought a little bit of coffee and his name's Udit. He told me he's coming this Saturday. And I said, what does your name mean? And he said, I don't know. So I told him, Udit.
What did you say Dint means?
The word U.
No,
Uch.
yes, but
I mean, sorry?
Dint or do or something you said?
It means to rise. So also means when the sun rises.
That's U.
The root U, yeah.
But then you said something else.
Udilo Aruna.
The D, you said D or do?
The name of that person, you mean?
Yeah.
What?
Udit is a name. What are you saying then?
On top of the U, you said D or do means something. What was that?
It means like the dawn.
Dawn. What is dawn?
Dawn. Oh, okay. Means when the sun rises, just when the night finishes and the day begins.
Okay, I'm just trying to find it.
Dawn. D-A-W-N.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a connecting word, but dawn. What is the word in Spanish for dawn?
El amanecer.
Oh, okay.
But it's the same. In the evening is
Dusk,
dusk, in the morning is
dawn.
dawn. So it's just the shift of the sun going to bed.
Yeah.
In the morning, the sun is rising.
So the sun rises, that's the prime characteristic of dawn. So it's like udilo at the dawn time. And uttama bhakti, uttam, top, risen to the top. So you have uttam bhakti. Anyways, they're all from the root word u, which means to rise up, to elevate. So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, King Prataparuda, he was the one who began to sweep the
Yeah, well that was...
floor, the ground.
Yeah.
Before the Ratra Yatra festival.
Yes, that's true.
I wonder if he began that or was that?
I think he did, yeah. I think it was his choice to do that, and it became a tradition after that. I don't think it was a tradition before that. I think he started it.
Because he was a devotee.
Yeah. I think so. It is a tradition now. And it has been at least since his time. But I think, when I say at least since his time, I think he inaugurated it. And I think it's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It'll be mentioned in the Antya-lila chapter, what would it be, 13, I think. It's called the Beda Kirtan pastimes of Mahaprabhu. And it describes him dancing in front of the Rath. And I think it's mentioned in there how the king decided himself he wanted to come down and sweep out of humility. But Udiya is the name of Orissa, traditionally. And so, of course, it means the place where the sun rises, because it's on the east coast. So the first place to see the sun, Udiya. And it's the same when we have the verse that we were singing the other day on Gaurapanim. Nadia Udaya Giri Puna Chandra Gauda Hari. It's like the prime verse in the chapter, chapter 13 of Antya-lila, when the Mahaprabhu's appearance is described. Nadia Udaya Giri Puna Chandra Gauda Hari. So it's comparing Nadia to Orissa, where the sun rises, and that sunrise metaphorically being Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Purnachandra Gaurari, the full moon, and being compared to the rising of the sun. But so Prataparudra was the king of the whole province, which is a little larger, extended right down to south of Vishakhapatnam, south of the Godavari River, where Mahaprabhu met Ramananda Roy. He was a governor for the king, and it was a fairly large kingdom at that time. Although the Prataparudra was constantly involved in battles throughout his whole kingship, constantly fighting with the neighbors, having to protect his borders, and advancing and retreating, and constant fighting. Constant military campaigns. But then, once Gurudev met his descendant, he met him once, the king of Orissa, who was at that time just a figurehead. He didn't have the actual power, the real power of Prataparudra Maharaj. But Gurudev met with him somewhere, maybe in Kolkata, I'm not sure. Do you know where he met him? Was it in Kolkata or?
I think it was in
Probably. Jagannath Puri. Yeah, well, that makes more sense. For some reason, I thought it was Kolkata. But anyway, that's beside the point. He met with him, and Gurudev was very impressed with his mood and spirit of devotion. And he said, I felt as if I was sitting with Prataparudra Maharaj himself, the Gajapati. They were called the Gajja. That line of kings were called the Gajapatis, which means the Lord of the Elephants. because they had a lot of elephants in Orissa, especially. It was the state in India where they were breeding the war elephants. Well, most kings had their elephants, but they particularly had a lot of very good quality elephants in their armies. So the kings of Orissa were called the Gajapatis, and which is also a term of power, the king of the elephants. And so Gurudev said, I felt like I was sitting in front of Pratap Rudra Maharaj. And he said, if I wasn't the Acharya, I would have bowed down and paid dandavat to him. So that kind of spirit, expressed by Gurudev himself, of descendant of this Pratap Rudra Maharaj. He was a great devotee. And although he was engaged in so much, he had so much political responsibility, and including the difficult side of politics, which is fighting military campaigns. Even with that, he was not so caught up in it internally. At least from his expressions, he says in several places, I'm ready to give all of this up for Mahaprabhu in the interest of Mahaprabhu, to keep him in Jagannath Puri, or to have a darshan, have a connection, have an interview. He says, with Mahaprabhu, I'm prepared to give everything up. And in this context, he says, he says, I would not care for the profit of millions of Chintamani stones. Chintamani stone is a touchstone, so whatever it touches turns to a precious metal or a valuable stone. I would not care for millions of those, even for a small interview. Darshan. For a darshan of Mahaprabhu. It's been translated as interview. It's not quite an interview where you're like a reporter, but to see Mahaprabhu and to interact, be in his presence. Konchara padartha dui laksha kahana prana raja karon prabhu pare nirmanchana. I do not care about the small sum of 200,000 kahanas. Not to speak of this, I would sacrifice everything at the lotus feet of the Lord, including my life and kingdom. Mishra kahe kodi chariba nahe prabhu ramana tara dukkha paya nayaya sahana. Kashi Mishra hinted to the king, it is not the Lord's desire that you forfeit the payment. He is unhappy only because the whole family is troubled. Raja kahe tahe ame dukkha nahi diye change chara kadge dara ame na janiye. The king replied, I have no desire to give pain to Gopinath Patanayak and his family, nor do I know about his being lifted on the changa to be thrown on the swords and killed. Purushottam janare tenha kaila parihasa se janatare de kaila mityatrasa. He sneered at Purushottam Jana. Therefore the prince tried to scare him as punishment. Tumiyaha prabhure rakaha yatnakare emui tahare chadinu sabakodi. Go personally to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and keep him at Jagannath Puri with great attention. I shall excuse Gopinath Patanayak from all his debts. Mishra kahe kode chadiba nahe prabhu ramane kode chadila prabhu kadachit dukhamane. Kashi Mishra said, excusing Gopinath Patanayak of all his debts will not make the Lord happy, for that is not his intention. Raja kahe kodi chadimu iha na kahiba sahaje moda priyatada iha janaiba. The king said, I shall absolve Gopinath Patanayak of all his debts, but don't speak of this to the Lord. Simply let him know that all the family members of Bhavananda Rai and Gopinath Patanayak are naturally my dear friends. So as it turns out, all of this is just a big or the saga of him being put on the Changa is just a big kind of ego trip, or a vindictive move, revengeful move by the king's son as a result of him being offended. Bhavananda Rai Amara Puja Garvita Tanra Putra Gane Amara Sahajay Prita. Bhavananda Rai is worthy of my worship and respect. Therefore, I am always naturally affectionate to his sons. Eta Bali Mishri Namaskari Rajagari Gela Gopinate Bara Janaya Dakya Anila. After offering obeisances to Kashi Mishra, the king returned to his palace and called for both Gopinath and the eldest prince. Raja kahe sabakode tomare charilun se malajatya danda pata tomare ta dilun. The king told Gopinath Patanayak, "You are excused for all the money you owe the treasury, and the place known as Malajatya Dandapata is again given to you for collections." Arabara aiche na kaiha rajadana Ajihaite dilun tamaya dviguna vartana. Do not again misappropriate the revenue of the government. In case you think your salary is insufficient, henceforward it will be doubled. Etabali netadati tari paraila prabhu agya lana yaha vidaya tomadila. After saying this, the king appointed him by offering him a silken wrapper for his body. Go to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said. After taking permission from him, go to your home. I bid you farewell. Now you may go. Paramarte prabhura kripa se rahudure ananta tahara pala ke balite pare. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can certainly become spiritually advanced. Indeed, no one can estimate the results of his mercy. Radya vishaya pala e kripada abase Tahara ganana karo mane nahi ase. Gopinath Patanayak achieved the result of kingly opulence due to but a glimpse of the Lord's mercy. Therefore, no one can calculate the full value of his mercy.
The descendants of this king are nowadays worshipping Mahaprabhu. Do you know something about that? Do they consider
I imagine so. They would know their history. I would say it would depend on individual cases. Some may be devotees, and some may not be so inclined. I imagine that'd all be favorable, considering the history, considering their ancestral connection with Mahaprabhu. But I don't know for certain. At least the one that visited Gurudev, presuming he's still alive, he was certainly favorable. He would have to be for Gurudev to make such a nice expression about him. But whether all his wider family is the same devotional caliber, who knows? Kahan change charana laya dana prana, kahan sabachare se rajyade pradana. Gopinath Patanayak was lifted onto the Changa to be killed, and all his money was taken away. But instead, his debts were excused, and he was appointed collector in the same place. Kahan sarvasva vechilaya deyana yaya kodi, kahan viguna vartana paraya netadadi. On one hand, Gopinath Patanayak was unable to clear his debt even by selling all his possessions, but on the other his salary was doubled, and he was honoured with a silken wrapper. Prabhura ichanahi tare kodi chadaibe Dviguna Vartana Kari Puna Vishaya Dibe. It was not the desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Gopinath Patanayak be excused of his debt to the government, nor was it his desire that his salary be doubled or that he be reappointed collector at the same place. Tatapi tara sevaka ashi kaila nivedana tatek shubha haila yabe Mahaprabhu Ramana. When Gopinath Patanayak's servant went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and informed the Lord of his plight, the Lord was somewhat agitated and dissatisfied. Vishaya sukadite prabhura nahimano bala nivedena prabhaveha tabu pale etapala. The Lord had no intention to award his devotee the happiness of material opulence, yet simply because of his being informed, such a great result was obtained. Ke kahite pare gorera ascharya svabhava Brahma Shiva Ariyanrana Paya Antarbhava. No one can estimate the wonderful characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot understand the intentions of the Lord. Okay, we finish there. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gauda Bhakta Vrinda. Read from Revealed Truth by Srila Bhaktisinoda Govinda Deva Swami Maharaj. We are on final chapter of the book, so we finished it in a week or two, a couple of weeks. The chapter is entitled The Next Edition of Radha Krishna's Pastimes, and the sub-chapter is entitled Radharani's Love and Krishna's Desire. Oh, it's not the final chapter, excuse me. Chapter 20, The Finest Conception, is next. This is the final sub-chapter in the penultimate chapter. We can understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes come as the next edition of Radha Krishna's eternal pastimes. Krishna wanted to taste the depth of Radharani's love and feelings of separation from him. He wanted to taste his own beauty and love through Radharani's supreme devotional mood. He himself took Radharani's heart and halo to appear in the form of Mahaprabhu, merged into his Kali Yuga avatar form, and descended to the material world with his associates' abode, and so on. Srila Swarup Damodar has explained this clearly for us. Radha Krishna pranaya vikritir hladini shakti rasmad ekat manav apibhuvi pura deha bedam gatoto chaitanyakyam prakatam adhuna tadvayam chaikyam aptam radha bhava dyuti suvalitam nomi Krishna swarupam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but he has now become the divine form of Radha and Krishna combined to taste Radharani's Krishna Prem. Radharani and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are actually non-different. Mahaprabhu appeared to taste the divine ecstasy of Krishna Prem in the way that Radharani tastes it, and to see the way she gives Krishna super joy and ecstasy through her love, affection, charm, beauty, and so on. That is the hidden purpose of Krishna's appearance as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that, yes.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna and Radharani combined. From his pastimes, we know the Radharani's side, the Radharani mood, the Radharani's feeling. What do we know through the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What does he manifest as Krishna?
Well, he is Krishna, tasting Radharani's mood. So he's Krishna with the bhav and kanti of Radharani. So the bhav means the internal property, the feeling, the love, and the kanti means the complexion. So the bhav and the kanti. So the complexion, Radharani is golden complexion, and the feeling, mahabhav. So Mahaprabhu is Krishna with the mahabhav and the complexion of Radharani.
But from what he manifests to the people around him, is there something? What is the Krishna aspect? Is it understandable? Does it make sense?
Well, yeah, it is Krishna expressing the desire to taste what his devotee tastes. Okay. So it is Krishna in, again, but it is Krishna, but the only difference of Vrindavan Krishna and Mahaprabhu is, well, it's twofold. But one is that he is Krishna tasting Radharani's feelings. If you want to get detailed, there's three. Radharani's happiness, her love, and his own beauty. So these three together are Radharani's bhav. So he's tasting the bhav of Radharani, and in doing so has assumed her complexion. So that's one. And the second is that it's being distributed. So what is just Madhura Lila in Vrindavan has also become Odarya Lila in Gora, in the Gora pastimes, in the Gora Lila. So it's being distributed. So those are the two main distinctions. Apart from that, the identity is that of Krishna.
Can we say that it's mainly in his hankering or in his searching for the feelings of Radharani?
Well, that is the precursor to him tasting them. He's not just hankering for it, he is tasting them.
But he's tasting them as Radharani.
Yes.
That's what I don't understand,
He's tasting them as Radharani. So it's the Lord appearing as his own devotee, as his own highest devotee. So the highest devotee is the one who has the most love, prem, and that's Radharani. So when Krishna appears as his devotee, he appears with her feelings, as she is the highest devotee. So what about that is not understandable?
He's feeling, he's experiencing what Radharani is experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
As Radharani, he's I don't know.
Well, not as Radharani as in a female form, or because Radharani in Chaitanya-lila is Gadadhar Pandit. But Gadadhar Pandit bereft of the bhav, the spiritual wealth of, well, it's been plundered, stolen, bereft, not in possession of. But it's a unique, it's a complex situation. So Gadadhar Pandit is Radharani, but Radharani who's had her spiritual wealth appropriated by Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Krishna tasting the mood of Srimati Radharani. It's a pretty simple concept.
Not for me alone. If he's tasting what Radharani feels, then he's the Radharani's side. Then he's Radharani is just in the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What remains of Krishna there? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's Krishna tasting the mood of Srimati Radharani. So, what remains of Krishna is...
He manifested as Krishna. He manifested Radharani's aspects.
Well, that's why it says it's combined. It's mixed. So Krishna is taking the mood of the devotee. So it's still Krishna, but it's Krishna tasting himself.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I think that's it.
So it's a merging of the two. What is it? Radha Krishna Milita Tanu means that the two are combined. Mm-hmm. So
it's just weird to make this distinction, to say Krishna tasting Radharani. This Radharani's mood. It's weird to separate.
And then when it says that Srimati Radharani said, and when you descend and you roll on the ground, I will cover you with my plaster. Isn't that something? Remember?
Yeah. That explains the concept as well. Radha Krishna Eka Atma Dui Dehadari Ananya Vilasa Rasa Ashvadana Kari. Radha Krishna, two people. Eka Atma, one soul. Dui Dehadari, have assumed two bodies. Ananya Vilasa Rasa Ashvadana Kari, for the purpose of tasting rasa. Now, for the further purpose of tasting rasa, Mahaprabhu, or Krishna, has appeared as Mahaprabhu again What is one soul eternally in two bodies? Again, in one body of Mahaprabhu. Devashish Prabhu likes to make the point, he likes to talk about, or recently he has at least, about which came first, right? Mahaprabhu or Radha Krishna? The chicken or the egg? Excuse the crude analogy. But, or the gift or the giver. And he says like the giver of the gift must come first, and Mahaprabhu is the giver of the gift. So if you want to look at it that way, you say originally there was Mahaprabhu. You go, how did Mahaprabhu become two, Radha and Krishna? But this is very esoteric, and in a sense it is achintya, which means inconceivable, of which much of the esoteric tattva, or the esoteric truth of Godhead, it's not really that understandable by someone whose comprehension is limited by the material laws. Our comprehension is limited really by what we can experience, by our frame of reference. And if the intrinsic reality of something is outside of our frame of reference, how are we going to comprehend it? We can't. We don't have the conceptual tools, the referential tools to comprehend it. And that requires a little bit of faith. If you're going to believe in something that you can't physically or that you can't verify using the faculties at your disposal, physical or psychological, then you have to have faith in it. So if something is achintya, we can't just verify it using the feeble tools that we have here without experience of a atma trapped inside a body. You only see outside of very narrow apertures, the eyes and the ears, and etc. And to use such limited equipment to understand concepts that are intrinsically infinite, the finite cannot do that necessarily, does not have the equipment to do it. So that has to be recognized when trying to understand esoteric concepts of Krishna Tattva. But I think the basic concept is appreciable, that Krishna is wanting to taste the mood of his devotee, and it shows the supremacy of the devotee as well, which touches on the principle of bhakti as in being able to capture Krishna. That Krishna is svatantra and he's adhoksaja. He's beyond, he's independent, and he's beyond the purview of the control of any material element, beyond the purview of the senses, and anything material. But he comes under the control of the love of his devotee. And you could say the end result of that is he wants to experience that which is even more powerful than himself, that love of the devotee. And that is the basic principle, the basic reason, or the basic premise of the confidential reason, the inner reason of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Krishna wanting to taste that which has power over himself, even that which can conquer God, the Supreme, his love. Aham bhakta paradhino hyasvatantra ivadyuja, svatantra, independent. Sarubhya grasta hridayo bhaktir bhakta janapriya. And there's many verses. Sneha lesha pekamatra Sri Krishna svikara sneha vasha hanakari svatantra ichara. Controlled only by affection, independent against svatantra, but controlled by sneha, affection. And ye praya sojita chitopyasi tai trilokyam. Even though he's the Lord of the three worlds, he comes to serve the devotee. Sanatana Goswami says that verse that we were talking about yesterday, Jnane prayasamudapasya namanta eva. Tanuvan manopir, ye praya sojita chitopyasi tais trilokyam. That there's two ways of interpreting it, that the devotee serves the Lord with his mind, body and words. But that as a result of that service, Sanatana Goswami says in his commentary on the 10th canto called Dasa Tipani, he says that the Lord comes and serves the devotee also with his mind, body and words. So the love that controls that person who cannot be controlled, the infinite God cannot be controlled except by love. And so the descent of Mahaprabhu is an exhibition of that, him wanting to taste that love which controls him, the love of Srimati Radharani.
To make it easy for my limited brain, in personality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whatever is manifested as Radharani's mood and feelings is necessarily instantly Krishna's mood and feelings. That's it. No, whatever she feels, Krishna feels.
As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yeah.
That's it.
Not as Krishna himself, otherwise he wouldn't appear as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to taste that.
Very good question. Yeah.
Krishna loses himself as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He loses himself in the bhava and the kanti, and the bhava of Srimati Radharani and her mood. So he appears as his devotee. So yeah, he's kind of losing himself. He's not paying, like in the Brahma Samhita we have, how did Saraswati Thakur express it? Old-fashioned English. Predominated moiety and predominating moiety.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, ways of predominator means a positive. Moiety means a half. So he talks about the Supreme as two halves. Predominated moiety and predominating moiety. So the predominating moiety is Krishna and the predominated moiety is Radharani. So the positive and the negative. We say, using different language. And when they combine, then we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Combination of a merging of the predominated and the predominating moiety. But the predominating moiety,
Is Radharani.
no, predominating is Krishna.
No, in the case of Mahaprabhu, you
The-
would not say that.
No, the predominating moiety, that function is somewhat lost when Krishna appears as Mahaprabhu. Because he is tasting, fully absorbed, he's lost himself in the feelings of the predominated moiety, predominated half, the negative half, Srimati Radharani. So in a sense, Krishna has lost his function as the predominating moiety, is still there, but he's fully absorbed in the opposite side, or the counterpart side of the predominated half, the negative half, Srimati Radharani. Tasting that. That's the function. And also we cannot forget distributing that, or Darya. Everything Mahaprabhu tastes is also there in Krishna-lila, expressed by Srimati Radharani. The Vipralamba Bhav, expressed by Srimati Radharani. And Gauranga Lila is just Krishna tasting that. Krishna wants to taste that. He's controlled by that. He wants to see what it is, her love, happiness, etc. And distribute it. So, if it's being distributed, then it's there. This is what the goal is. It's what this place is designed for, to tap into that distribution. So, at some stage, it will go beyond theoretical conception. And you'll go, oh, I think I know what it's about. I can feel it inside. Well, at some stage, hopefully. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Rasa Raghunatha Ki Jai Gosai Kori Charana Vandana Ahoite Vignana Shabishta Purana Jai Gosai Jamuri Taradasa Sabara Padarenu Mora Panchagasa Adira Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivasa Janame Janame More Abhilasa Jai Gosai Jabe Baji Koilabasa Radha Krishna Antya-lila Kori Apakasha Anande Bola Hari Bhajan Vindavana Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Najayamana Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyasha Hari Ram Sankirtana Kohe Narottama Dasa Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Jai Saparikar Shishi Guru Granga Sundar Radhagiri Hari Ju Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Shri Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Shri Bhakti Rakak Shridhadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Bhagavan Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Vaga Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mott Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Monacharya Brinda Ki Jai Jai Shri Bhakti Raja Madhusudana Maharaj Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Go Pramanande